Manchester United reportedly want to sign Olise and Todibo this summer and have been linked with both of them for a while, but there will be competition. What are United's chances of landing the players? Manchester United are out and those on the biggest wages will be out first, but is that the best approach? £51 million deal for a centre-back that Manchester United reportedly say they'll be willing to pay that money to sign Breman of Juventus. Also news on Shea Lacey, United's big plan for the player, and maybe a debut could be coming soon. And then the latest on Ten Hag's future with Nagelsmann not going to Bayern, staying in as Germany manager. Could Bayern go for De Zerbi? What does that leave Manchester United with manager-wise? Let's get into the first story. News, and then we'll get into the other stories. It was said that Atletico Madrid have made Jean-Claude Todibo their number one defensive target this summer. They would consider breaking the bank to bring him in. Now, this has come from a more reliable source in Santi, so this is definitely one to watch. The one thing I will say about Todibo is he's at Nice. Nice is owned by Ratcliffe and the Ineos group. I think if Manchester United really want Todibo and are genuinely serious about making Todibo their number one centre-back target, I think our relationship with Nice would mean that he would eventually end up at United unless the player was really, really pushing for a move to Atletico Madrid. I think you'd expect Sir Jim Ratcliffe to not sell him to Atletico if we want him. If he's third or fourth on our list, maybe he goes to Atletico because Nice need the money. But I think if he's genuinely the centre-back that United want as first on their list, I think Jim reserves him. Now, some reports are saying that Bremer's first on our list, and we're going to dive into that, and we're willing to pay 51 million. We will agree to play that. That's what some reports are saying. Other reports are saying Bramthwaite's first on our list, but the price tag makes it less realistic, so that makes Todibo first on our list. This is definitely one to keep an eye on. I think it's a matter of if he's first on the list, we get him. If he's further down the list, I think Nice will let him go elsewhere. Now, one player that reportedly has been first on our list for a while, but injuries maybe made him push down the list a little bit, is Olise. He's probably the first player we were seriously linked to once Ineos came in, and they said if Michael Olise leaves Crystal Palace in the upcoming window, I expect it would only be for one of the small number of most prominent Champions League clubs, said David Ornstein, which at the moment, unfortunately, isn't Manchester United. We're not going to finish in Champions League places this season, and we've not been particularly prominent in the Now, I think this has come from David Ornstein. That's a very good source of information, a very good journalist. And Olise has been linked to Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United and Manchester City. But I will say one thing. Last season, when he was linked to Manchester City and Chelsea, apparently he communicated with Chelsea that he's open to the move, but turned down Manchester City when Man City were in the Champions League and Chelsea had just finished 12th place. Now, we know that Michael Olise is a big Manchester United fan. He didn't celebrate when he scored that brilliant goal against us, but then when he scores a winner against Man City, he went absolutely crazy. We know that he loves Manchester United, and, you know, some reports and journalists are saying that he's communicated to United he's open to the move. We know on Olise that Palace have admitted that they will sell him for the right price, which is around £50 million. We know that the player's a massive Man United fan, and reportedly, according to other good journalists, is open to moving to United, has made communication with United to say he's open, and we know that Manchester United have made contact with Olise's representatives to discuss a deal. So I think while David Ornstein's a credible journalist, I do expect Olise to Manchester United to definitely not be off the cards just because we're not in the Champions League. I think Olise maybe for Real Madrid or someone crazy went in for him, of course, probably rejects United for that, but I do think he would pick United over a handful of Premier League clubs. Despite Arsenal's recent interest in the player, I do think with his Manchester United, him being a Manchester United fan, and if we're really willing to pay the 50 million to bring him in, which reportedly we are, I don't think we're out of the Olise race, and I don't think we're out of the Todibo race despite Atletico Madrid's interest. I think if we want Todibo, we get him because of Ratcliffe's relationship with Nice. I think Olise is still open to United move. Now, interestingly, the Muppeteers said as it stands, Maguire and Varane are the two centre-backs that are most likely to leave United this summer, with Victor Lindelof likely to stay and see out the final year of his contract. Personally, I think I understand moving all three centre-backs on, but out of those three, Victor Lindelof's the first I get rid of. I think they want to get rid of Maguire and Varane because they're on bigger wages, but Maguire and Varane are better than Lindelof. That is a fact. Yes, Maguire's not been amazing at United. From time to time, he's been a bit iffy, but he is a better centre-back than Lindelof. He's been better than Lindelof this season, and Lindelof can't even stay fit this season. Rafa Varane's injury record has been better than Lindelof's this season. Personally, I would keep Varane for one more year because he's a great box defender, and I think he's had a good season, and I would sell Lindelof and I'd sell Maguire. If I had to sell one of Lindelof and Maguire, I would sell Lindelof. So personally, I think Man United are just keeping Lindelof because he's on the lowest wages, but I also think because he's on the lowest wages, he'll be the easiest to sell. He leaves for a free next year, or we can maybe cash in 20 million on Victor Lindelof. I would like to cash in that 20 million on Victor Lindelof because we know that he's not good enough. Continuing on though, apparently Man United are willing to pay £51 million to sign Juventus centre-back Bremer this summer. United have been speaking to Bremer's entourage while Juventus are identifying replacements. Bremer entices United mainly due to his performances and the £51 million release clause that will come into effect in 2025. £51 million is a figure Juventus are requesting to part ways with him in the summer, and United are willing to pay it. Bremer hasn't missed a single game through injury this season. I think one of the reasons United rate Bremer so highly is the injury record, and he's a decent centre-back, and £51 million is the fee. It was said that Manchester United are certainly most keen on the centre-back Bremer, though they may face competition from Atletico Madrid and Newcastle. All clubs are talking to agents about a transfer. Todibo, Bremer is all being watched by Manchester United, Newcastle, Atletico Madrid. Now, one thing I will say about Italian media is they always exaggerate links when it's a Man United player. We got told we were willing to pay £41 million for Kim Min-jae to bring him in. Did we pay £41 million for Kim Min-jae? We didn't. All the stories we're getting about Bremer, we got about Kim Min-jae. We also got about Amrabat, and we did end up getting Amrabat. But the same sources are giving us the same stories about Bremer, and we've probably had more stories about Bremer to United than anyone else over the last month. But they are also the people that went on for months and months that we're getting Kim Min-jae and that we're going to pay his release clause and that we've agreed to pay his release clause. Now they're saying the exact same about Bremer. Because we didn't get Kim Min-jae, because it's Italian media, I would take it with a pinch of salt. Bremer is on the list, so is Branthwaite, so is Todibo. We will sign a centre-back, maybe two, and Salimo is also on the list. Do I think we'll be willing to pay £51 million for Bremer? I do think United would pay £50 million for Bremer, but I think Todibo for £40 million is probably better value for money. But I do think I think United are willing to pay £50 million on a centre-back, but I don't know if he's first on the list. From what I'm aware of, Branthwaite is who they like the most, followed by Todibo, followed by Bremer. He seems to be third or fourth on the list, and the Italian media is exaggerating it. I think if the budget is there, the fee is there, and Bremer becomes top of the list because maybe other signings are not available, potentially we pay £51 million, but I would keep that one with obviously a little bit of a pinch of salt because Italian media always like to exaggerate links to United players. Now, one to keep an eye on is Shea Lacey. It was said by Ben Jacobs that Manchester United believes Shea Lacey has several top talents and is ready to step up to first team level. Now, Shea Lacey obviously was injured in October and has only just come back from injury since. He's just turned 17 and he was the best player in the academy pre-injury. He was sort of the most highly rated. He's basically been compared as being sort of a mould of Phil Foden, the way he plays in his academy days, very technically good. With Manchester United's shortage of right wingers, with Sancho going and Anthony not being good enough and Greenwood unlikely to return, I think there's definitely an opportunity there for Shea Lacey to break through. I think if Ten Hag is here next season, we know that he likes to give youth a chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Shea Lacey involved in pre-season tour. I don't think we'll see Shea Lacey play for Manchester United this season. Maybe who could get on the bench a bit like Harry Amas, but I do think on pre-season tour we'll see him sort of be involved, and if he has a pre-season tour like Kobbie Mainoo did, I think we'll see him closer and closer to the first team. Talking of Kobbie Mainoo, it says talks over a new contract for Kobbie Mainoo at Manchester United are progressing steadily, and Mainoo is set to be rewarded with a significant but fair pay increase, including several performance-based incentives. Figures at Ineos are conscious of balancing the club's overinflated wage bill and believe Mainoo's proposed new rate is reflective of that initiative. So with Kobbie Mainoo, obviously deserved of a new contract, but he's young. Man United don't want to give him ridiculous money just yet because we give young players ridiculous money like Brandon Williams after a few games, and now when they didn't live up to that level, we can't get rid of them. Obviously, Kobbie Mainoo is a different level to Brandon Williams. I don't think Kobbie Mainoo will live up to that level. Brandon Williams was good, but there was question marks over if he was going to live up to that level. I do think it's very smart to give him a pay rise that he deserves, but have a lot of performance-based incentives where he can go up and up and up as he stays here longer and longer, rather than giving him a massive contract and they think that they've made it, because that's happened with youth players in the past. Now, going into our final story, we've got another report about Ten Hag's future coming from Sky, saying that it's increasingly likely that Manchester United will replace Erik Ten Hag this summer. Now, I do think that people are just hearing that one or two journalists are saying that it's most likely Ten Hag will leave and that everyone else is sort of jumping on it. And I don't think many people really know what's going on with Ten Hag. And I think a lot of it is guesswork that he will leave. But those sort of sources and leaks within the club have suggested he's more likely to leave, but nothing has been confirmed. Now, Nagelsmann has been confirmed today, will stay at Germany till 2026. He will not go to Bayern. Tuchel is leaving Bayern. Amorim's rejected Bayern for Liverpool. Xabi Alonso staying at Leverkusen. Who are Bayern Munich? There's not many out there. Do they go and bring back Flick? They probably won't want to do that. Do they go for De Zerbi? I don't think they'd get Zidane. Don't know if McKenna's ready for that step. And De Zerbi is reportedly Manchester United's first choice for next manager if they replace Ten Hag. So I wouldn't be surprised if De Zerbi to Bayern Munich happens, and then that leaves United with the options of Graham Potter, Tuchel, Southgate, which I don't think will happen, and Ten Hag next season. I think the decision on Ten Hag will be weighed out of, do they think Ten Hag could do a better job with this squad and the way we want to play? Do they think Tuchel could do the best job, or do they think Graham Potter could do the best job? There are links to Gareth Southgate and United, but as far as I'm aware, it's just like they have a good relationship with Southgate. They're not interested in Southgate to be the next manager. De Zerbi and Potter seem to be the favourite too. Tuchel's sort of in the background there. And I think sort of Ten Hag's future will depend on how much it's going to cost to get a new manager, who's available, and who's the best possible candidate. Because while Ten Hag hasn't had a good season, we know he's a good manager. Is Ten Hag, what he's done at Ajax, what he did last season, promising more than maybe someone like Graham Potter? I think that's what Ineos will look at. But anyway, that is all the latest Manchester United news today, rounded up in 10 minutes. Please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching.